Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome to the video. This time to the SH Figuarts Spike Spiegel from Cowboy Bebop. And if you're like me, you already were excited for this figure because you really love the anime. If you didn't watch the anime and you probably just wanted a cool guy who looked really cool as a figure, this is probably also one for you. But me, I had to pause for a second because I was just trying to find the words. This is probably one of my favorite animes of all time. It's probably one of the most different animes that I was exposed to outside of Studio Ghibli for its time, on a time when we were kind of just raised on the same kind of shonen anime. So as far as the dope jazz soundtrack, which I love jazz, and then the mixture of light and the non-contextual storytelling, this is probably one of my favorite animes, which actually had a banging English dub too. So it means a lot to me. And to have this figure, it's really cool. But enough about that. We're just going to talk about this interpretation of the character. When the last time we got a figure for Spike, it was from Figuarts Kai. So it's really cool to get him in something close to a 1/12 scale, which is really dope. So let's get started. One of the things I want to say about the Spike figure is that it is definitely one of those figures that actually look better the more you play with light and fool around with it. Because I know a lot of people think that the figure's face looks pretty dull, but if you match the lighting of the show or if you set the tone for it, this figure really pops under that. So I just want to put that out as a disclaimer. That doesn't make the figure any better or any worse, but that's just for me. It's definitely meant to set a mood for, at least in my opinion. One of the things that is really catching your eye about Spike in general is his big old green hair. Has highlights of tints of black in it as well. His stoic facial expression, which is really cool. The collar pops very well. His tie. The outfit is actually captured really well in the face. That they try to faithfully capture in one of those things. But, it's an action figure, so there's going to be some gripes with that. But anyway, let's jump into the articulation. Spike's head can move down. It can't really look up, but he can tilt left and right. So he has expression for about 270 degrees. Just can't get that full 360 with looking up, which is probably a downside. But overall, it works pretty well with Spike. You can still get poses like this. As far as the arms go, there is a butterfly joint that allows you to rotate left and right, back and forth, all the way around. When you rotate that, you can actually put the arm all the way up about this far and still go all the way around with a quick 360 degrees. Then you have an invisible bicep swivel, so you actually get a little bit of extra range there as well. Arms are single jointed, but there is a bicep swivel. There's a forearm swivel that allows for that extra bit of range to add to that single joint. You actually get standard SHF ball joint here at the hands. The waist movement, it's going to be left, it's going to be right. Very little ab crunch here at the upper torso, but you do get a lot of leg movement, so that's actually pretty good. One of the things you're noticing here is that Spike is also pretty lanky, so it's one of those things where Spike, it definitely shows that Spike kind of skips legs day, even with the design of the show. And if you watch Lupin the Third, this is very reminiscent of that. One of the things I don't enjoy is Spike's glossy boots. I would have preferred them to be a non-gloss, maybe a definitely matte to match the rest of his body. I just think that for him to be the rest matte and to have these shiny boots kind of throws me off. But with the leg articulation, it actually spreads out pretty well. Then you have a really decent knee swivel, which is new for him. But I think if you've had a Lupin figure, you kind of already know what you're getting into. So Spike actually has some range where he can run, he can jump, he can kick. You can actually do a flying kick as well. Let me see if I can. Yep. Spike can actually still do flying kicks. So Spike actually has some range and some articulation, but he falls short in the ankle swivel department. Even after heating it up and rotating it, it's just one of those things where he balances very well, but that ankle pivot is actually a bit lacking. So that's one of the things that's on the downside of him, as well as the shiny boots for me. But overall, it's still a figure that I really, really want. So I'm very excited for this. Hopefully we get more. Spike can actually pose very well for a guy with lanky legs. So as I pose him up real fast, see if he can still stand. So I messed around with him all weekend. And yeah, can still, nope. Balancing on this diorama may be a slight bit of an issue for him with these long legs. But he's one of those figures I really enjoy, and I'm going to take the time to try to get him to still do it. Let's see. There we go. So Spike can still pose. He can still look the part. And then we're going to talk about how he can still pop that leg off, going a little too far with that articulation. He can still do a high jump kick, right? I've done it before and I've done it numerous times. Let's get that balance going, right? I just want to. And this is what I go back with those shiny boots and that ankle pivot. This is one of those things where you got a little too generous on a lanky joint. Voila. So these are the kind of things I like to do, and it shows that it shows. But yeah, Spike is one of those things that while it lacks in some areas, especially with articulation, it makes up for it in the way that it balances by taking a little bit of time and a little bit of love to go into it. He still stands pretty well. He balances pretty well. And he looks the part. But those semi-gloss boots is killing me, man. Now, as far as faceplates go, you get Spike's bugged out faceplate where he's scared and shook. Makes those... and it's definitely shown here from the side, if you can imagine it with the big mousy hair. Then we have his smiling faceplate, which looks a little generic for him, but it definitely fits the part of the stoic man, right? But it does look very generic. And by far one of my favorite ones, the smoking head. This is iconic for Spike, and I'm glad that they actually included it. It looks really, really good. Spike comes with one handgun, which even for the future, handguns are pretty good for what they do, right? Then we have two trigger hands, one for each side. So even if you wanted to do well with Spike, you can. You get opposite hands for holding the gun. So if you wanted to put the magazine in or hold it from the side or hold the other arm, you can do that. And you get a set of martial arts hands when you want to practice Wing Chun. And a second set of martial arts hands, but also hands that kind of show him pointing. And we all know what that's for if you've seen the anime. So that's actually pretty cool. Other than that, Spike doesn't come with a crazy amount of accessories. He just kind of just covers the basic of what you can do in the anime, which is still pretty nice. All in all, if you love the anime, this is an absolute must-buy. Especially if you want it in a scale that goes with your other action figures. You can have them go up against just about anybody. If, however, though, you are not a Cowboy Bebop fan and you felt like passing on it, I think that's totally fine too. But for those of you that love this generic Adult Swim style that we've gotten, hopefully we get more stuff from it. Hopefully this will speak out and show you that our age of anime will get more figures, hopefully. In the meantime, let's jump to that size comparison and show you what we're up against. Here is Spike next to Kamen Rider Kuga, showing that Spike is basic SHF height. They're around the same size, completely different molds, completely different teams, but still shown to be that standard 5.5 inches. Then we're going to put him up against an articulated Icons Ninja, which I think these actually go pretty well with Spike against Space Ninja Men, or even Cyborgs or anything like that. Oop, let's get this guy to stand. There we go. So he works pretty well with ninjas in terms of size as well. Oop. Again, these glossy feet. That is a definite drawback, but I'm going to tighten those up because mine seem to be pretty loose. Here he is next to a 1000 toy synthetic human, and I think this is actually a very great adversary for Spike to fight, especially in the future that we kind of face with him. So that's really cool. Synthetic human, definitely the proper size. Here he is up next to a Marvel Legends Spider-Man. And as you can see, this one size-wise, it's a little bit, Spider-Man's a tad bit bigger, but you can finagle that one a bit, right? If you know what anyone looks like next to some Avengers toys, here he is next to an SH Figuarts Captain America, in case you want to put him up in that universe. Here he is next to a Lupin the Third, also an SHF, but because they have similar body proportions, I wanted to make sure I put this one out there. Because they definitely skip leg day and have these wildly proportionate upper torsos, right? So as you can see here, these two actually don't look that bad together at all. Well, if you're looking at them from the legs down, because they both definitely skipped leg day. Next up, I don't think I have anything too crazy to compare him to. Actually, you know what? I'm wrong. Here he is next to a Mezco. And as you can see, size-wise, these guys do not match up at all. So that's not going to work. But overall, guys, I hope you enjoyed. I hope you found it informative. I hope you enjoyed the photos at the end, too. And as always, be good, do good, drink your water.